With stage 64 you get the remaining parts of the rear differential. You also need the parts from stages 18, 27 and 28, and then follow the instructions for stages 10, 13 and 14 to build up the rear differential. Along with the assembled rear differential, you'll also need the main drive shaft, all the parts from stage 18, and the other side of the rear suspension mount. The first thing to do is to remove this pulley from the end of the main drive shaft, and you do this by just removing this E-ring, slide the pulley off, and then also make sure you keep this pin safe as well, which fits in this hole here. You next need to fit the 21T pulley, but first of all fit the flared spacer onto the drive shaft, followed by the pin through this hole, and then fit the pulley where the pin fits into the recess in the rear of the pulley. Then take the shoulder of the 21T pulley and fit that up against the pulley like this. Then you can fit the spacer on the drive shaft next to it. Then take the rear differential and fit the adjustment notch into the last position on the suspension mount. Push that into place. You then need to put the drive belt over the differential and the 21T pulley, like this. Then you can fit the other side of the suspension mount over the drive shaft, and make sure that the adjustment notch on the other side fits into the same slot. And you can then secure the suspension mount in place with this E-ring. And then finally you can refit the 18T pulley at the end of the shaft by fitting in the pin first, and then the pulley, and then secure it with the final E-ring on the end. You could then fit the main drive shaft assembly onto the chassis, and these two projections here will fit into the two center holes on the rear of the chassis. So make sure they're pressed into place. And when they're located, you can then turn the assembly over and screw in 4 of the countersunk screws into these 4 holes here. With the drive shaft in place, you can ensure that the positioning is correct by placing some tissue paper in between these pinion gears and the main gear. It should leave an impression on the tissue paper but not tear it, and you can adjust the spacing of this by altering the 4 engine screws underneath, and then you can slide the engine back or forward. So when you've adjusted the spacing between the pinion and the main gear, that is stage 64 complete.